fellow travelers, and welcome to Adventure Stars Podcast. How my loyal listeners, thank you for your support. And remember, click the subscribe button, everybody. It's an amazing episode because Andre Owens boards the mothership. He's the writer, creator of the Bovine League, now on Kickstarter. Now come aboard as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Owens. Thank you so much for the Adventure Stars Podcast.
Hi, it's good to see you, Jeff.
Totally my pleasure. I had a fun time reading Bovine League, so thank you so much for doing it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you really liked it. I had a lot of fun writing it. It's one of my favorite things to write.
So this is actually your second issue. So how great was it to know that you were able to do a second one? Because I know sometimes it's the first one you can just go out there. You put it out there. You're kind of lucky with it. But to know you were successful enough to do a second issue, how does that feel?
Well, it feels great. I did because I had an issue number 0 was my preview issue. And then, I did issue number 1, which was great because it was like 32 pages, which was I'm really thrilled with, the length of it. And then, to be able to present issue 2 is just fantastic in my mind. My whole idea for the Bovine League is to have a 6-issue series, this story arc that we're doing. So, to get issue 2 going is really exciting.
So, as we were saying, you're the writer and creator of the Bovine League. So, what inspired the creation of the series? Because, like I said, it has a little bit of a Justice League thing, a little bit tongue in cheek. So, what inspired the creation?
Okay, so it's funny, inspiration can come from anywhere, right? So what happened was I was on vacation in Switzerland many years ago, and I bought a coffee mug at the time. I didn't think anything about it. And on the coffee mug, it had each canton or state within Switzerland represented by one of the cows, like a cow, because cows are big in Switzerland. And each cow had like the colors of each state. So I was looking at it one day, and I was like, hey, that'll be a good idea for a superhero story. So literally it came from a coffee mug. So, as the inspiration comes from anywhere. So what I did was I chose a couple of the, different states that I thought had cool names and places that I recognized and picked those characters and then found, found archetypes and attached them to each character and, and evolved from there.
It is very weird where writers' ideas come from, isn't it?
It really is. It really is, man. You never know where things are going to happen. Like you can just be sitting there watching the rain come down, and all of a sudden it's like, that's it. That's the thing I've been thinking about. So yeah, I think what a lot of writing, people don't understand. A lot of writing is just thinking and having ideas in your head all the time, and and then finding ways to make that idea work into a different situation. Like I have tons of notebooks that have like ideas, strewn with ideas that I'll go back to, like, oh, that'll fit now, and Bovine League number 3. So I'll use that as use that idea then.
That's why I always think it's the funniest thing is when someone asks, as a writer, where did your ideas come from? It's like, do you really want to know? There's no answer that sounds sophisticated. Always like, well, I tripped over a rock. I thought, hey, a rock story, something like just weird.
Yeah. Because it's ridiculous where ideas can come from. You know what I mean? Because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, like I really didn't even think about making superpowered cows up until the moment I was drinking coffee one day. So it really just hit me all at once.
So where does the courage go from I have an idea to let's carry this thing out?
Well, I've been making indie comics for a long time. So I started back in the late 90s, actually, writing indie comics. And I published my first book back in 2005, Force Galaxia, which was an anthology of 3 different stories. So I published different books over the years. So, I had the confidence to be able to, that I knew that bring the Bovine League to life, that if it would work. One of the things is, most interesting is finding the audience that's perfect for it. It's an all ages book. And I write it in that manner. And a lot of my fans I've known are the teenagers or early teens. I mean, I get older fans also. Believe me, a lot of people really like it because I write it for both levels. You know what I mean? It's written as an all ages, but there's also all kind of what do they call them? Easter eggs for adult audiences.
So after you created 0 issue, you created a first issue, and now you're in your second. So what did you learn in the first 2 issues that help you create a better second issue?
I'm always evolving as a writer. And so one of the things that really inspires me is the story itself. So the basic story arc for the Bovine League is they're trying to find this stolen cosmic udder in the 4 teats of matter, right? So they're on the recovery of that. So each issue, they're going to a different part of the globe to recover these teats of matter before this mad god Nandi can recover it. So it's exciting just to write each issue. So issue 1, I was able to introduce all of the characters all at once, and like do different, see their different powers and see their different personalities. In issue 2, which is really starts this whole story arc, they go to Scotland to face Black Angus, the sorcerer cow leader of Scotland. So it kind of evolves as you're writing. You know what I mean? It's like things like one of the things I always love about writing, all kind of characters, especially these teen books, is how much the dynamic between characters starts working just
Hmm.
because of who they are. Just because this person, this person, they're going to clash or they're going to meld well together. So it really comes down to that kind of thing to make issue 2 better than issue 1, is to keep expanding upon that while while advancing the story. And it's one of those things where it's like it's something I'd like to think about when I'm writing is there's like a difference between story and plot. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like story is about what the thing is about, and plot is about what happens. So a lot of when people start talking is a lot of plot, but I like to stay with the story. It's like not to try to start to sound smart, but it's like Hamlet. Hamlet's a story about a guy can't make up his mind, but the plot's about this guy thinks his uncle killed his father. You know,
Hmm.
so that one services the other, and I think that really helps when you're writing, and that's what advances each issue.
So when you have a story like Bovine League and you put it, this large cast, how much are the characters dictating how they interact with one another, and how much is it you pushing the characters to interact in a certain way?
Well, it's funny. I like because I'm more of a plot driven writer than more than a character driven writer. So what happens with me is like once I've established the characters, and I know who they are. I mean, they always evolve, of course, because that's what the characters do. But once I know who their bases are, I can put them within the plot that I have in my head, and I know that like Argyle, she's my hot headed, a goth girl. So she, I know how she's going to react to certain things compared to one of the other characters. So yeah, they write themselves. I know where I want to go, but sometimes things are just act differently, or a different character becomes out as the ultimate hero of that issue because of circumstances that are beyond what my original ideas were.
Have you had a character yet that has dominated the story more than you thought they would? Like, you just because of whatever charisma the character had, the character just became the star that you weren't anticipating would be the star.
Well, it's interesting. I really didn't have any anticipation of who would be a star in it because it really is my the whole thing was a teen book. But I've realized I'm writing a lot more. It's my super it's the stereotypical super strong hammer wielding guy, Saint Gallen. He's become maybe the character that I've written the most things about. But what's interesting is other fans of the book really like the character Basil. So I had a book called Hero Unlimited One Shot. Hero Unlimited is named my company, HIRO Unlimited. And I have a comic book called Hero Unlimited One Shot, where we feature individual characters in each issue. And one of my artist friends approached me with a story idea, and he wanted to use Basil. So he came up with the story, and he did the art, and I wrote the script. And we have that in the Hero Unlimited One Shot #1. Now, just recently, one of my other artist friends is doing a pinup that we're going to have as a reward tier in the Kickstarter. And he just out of randomly he picked Basil as the background because he's loved the way the character was designed. And Basil's a cybernetic construct, so he's half robot, half cow, half human cow rather.
That's awesome. So the art and lettering is being done by, I'm gonna get the name
Christian
probably wrong.
Christian Alaminos. He's a fantastic artist. Like I'm so thrilled to work with Christian on this book because like working with him is I work with a lot of different artists, producing a lot of different comics over the years, and it all have their different strengths or weaknesses. But with Christian, it's like we're in simpatico. I can just like ideas that I just don't even really get on the page, but I just allude to. He's able to convey in the in the artwork, and that's what's fantastic about working with him. And he's out of Argentina, so he's not an English speaker traditionally, but we communicate very well through the written word, which works really good for me because I like to be kind of verbose in my scripts and like to describe a lot of stuff because it's all in my head and I want to get it out. But yeah, Christian, I can't say enough platitudes about how great of an artist he is and how much it's wonderful working with him.
So how did you first come across Christian?
Okay, well, see, I met Christian years ago. I think it's so funny. I met him. He worked on a book of mine. Like I said earlier, I had a book called Force Galaxy, which was an anthology. He worked one of the stories of that anthology called Sisters of Power. He was actually the second artist on that story. And I met him, I believe, on a website called Digital Webbing, I believe. Because it was before social media, so it wasn't the easiest way just to pop up and find someone on whatever, an Instagram or something. And I don't even think it was one of the art websites. I really do think it was just a meetup for comic book creators. But yeah, I met him then, and I worked with him forever. So when I wanted to do the Bovine League, I was thinking about all the artists I worked with, and I was like, oh, this guy, his artwork's too realistic, and this guy's too anime. I really don't want to work that way, or too manga rather. So I was looking at Christian's artwork. I felt like Christian will be perfect for it. And when he did the first number 0, when it came out, the first page, and it has my character Zurich and Lacey Swiss sitting on a rooftop looking down. The colors, everything was just perfect, and I knew we had a hit on our hands as soon as I saw that first image.
It's really amazing how these teams get started as well. Because I mean, there's so many horror stories about things, team partnerships that don't work out well. It's really great when one does, especially one that seems enduring.
Yeah, well, we've worked together for almost 2 decades now, honestly. So it's been a long time, and I really respect him. I pay him his rate. Attempt to pay him his rate. That's why we're running a Kickstarter to get Christian paid. But he's also he's been doing work for free. Getting the book together free because he loves the book also. It's just something that we really both believe in, and we really want to get it made. Some artists are just like work for hire, and they really don't care about what the subject matter is. But Christian truly cares, and he's always trying to find new ways to make the book better. Like he was complaining about his artwork from issue 1, just saying, I've improved so much from that. So, I'm thrilled that he's has that kind of discipline and wants to improve in each issue.
I mean, the series is a lot of fun. It has a lot of fun humor, had a lot of action, some clever puns involved as well.
Yeah.
So
when you're writing about superpowered cows, you got to have cow puns.
Indeed. So how do you balance the humor with the action?
Well, I think honestly, for me, it's one of those things. Is I've been reading comics my whole life, right? So I know what I like in the balance between humor and action that I like within a book. I don't like books that are overly serious or take themselves way too seriously. I mean, there's a place for those, and I enjoy reading those types of books, but they're not what I wanted to write and the kind of books I write. So I try to balance that humor, my sense of humor, with the story. So there's Bovine League has more, like I said, cow puns and more crazy associations like that as compared to, like, I released a graphic novel, 230-page graphic novel called Omegan Chronicles back in February, and that has less humor in it because it's a little more serious subject matter.
So as the writer, as you're thinking about the story and the plot, is it hard to maintain a good level of tension, but also provide that good tongue-in-cheek quality as well to the comic book?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like I know we look at the going after the cosmic utter and the 4 teats of matter. So we know, there's some humor right in that, right? So I know it's humorous, but they don't know it's humorous. So that's how it works. It's like, they're seriously in their story. They're not breaking the fourth wall or doing anything. They're totally into their story, and they're taking every element of their story seriously, even if they are fighting a squid monster with buck teeth.
And then, like, one thing that's also interesting, like I said, the character Geneva is an interesting character. You write that she's the leader, but that her telepathic powers make her a loner. So why does her telepathic powers cause her to withdraw from others?
Well, because I think she constantly can hear other people's thoughts. There's a reference in issue 2 where the cows get separated, and Geneva is separated from some of the other cows, and one of the cows make a reference to the thought like, oh my goodness, she's not in my head, and I kind of miss her. So it's one of those things that's how her telepathic powers manifest itself, so that creates her to be a loner because she knows too much about people, to just take people for granted. So maybe less of a loner than more of a on purpose loner, more than someone who isn't pushed to the side. But she's also a telepathic water sprite, so she controls liquid and water. So she has both abilities.
So I mean, it's interesting. Like, what does it say about people that the more you know about them, the more you withdraw away from them?
Well, it is true, it really is true because it's like I was reading somewhere recently and someone was talking about, like, they worked in an office and they were saying they were there for like a week and they knew, like, the guy that next door to them was breaking up with his wife, and the woman over the side ate tuna fish every day. And I was like, yeah, well, that's exactly what happens when you're around it. What is the old it's the adage is that familiarity breeds contempt. So sometimes that does work that way.
Well, I mean, like I said, another great character is, am I saying it right, Ticino or Ticino?
Yeah, Ticino. I believe it's pronounced Ticino. Yes,
Ticino. Basically, when in your description of the character, you reference that he represents love in its many forms. So, what does this mean in general for him and for the team?
Okay, so for him, it means he falls in love easily with everybody, from every sentient. He'll fall in love with a tree, and will romance the tree. That's just who he is. So what that matters with the team is the team has to take into consideration some of his proclamations because they may be influenced by something beyond just reality or beyond logic. So but he's one of my favorite characters, right? Like in issue 1, I really had a good. So issue 1, I only took 2 pages, and there's 9 characters, so I took it 2 pages in each issue to introduce each character in their own environment. And in Ticino's little adventure, he had scheduled 2 dates at the same time. And he has to overcome the problem with that. But he's a super speedster, so he can go back and forth. So it's those kind of things that happen.
That sounds awesome. So, I mean, obviously there's some, but I need the Bovine League. There's some inspiration from something like the Justice League, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, kind of, how does your team, does it form in a similar manner of the Justice League? In other words, you have your, darker Batman. Like, do you have in your standard leadership? Like, how's it? I mean, is it similar to how that team functions?
Well, to an extent, with the thing about the Bovine League is they're out of Switzerland, and Switzerland's notoriously neutral. So, like all the issues that go on when they're traveling around the globe, people keep accusing them of being part of like the Earth government or the Amritech, this giant corporation I have, or the Milky Way Defense Organization, which is the larger group that the Earth is underneath of. So people accuse them of all of that, and they're saying, no, we're Swiss, we're neutral. So unlike the Justice League, they're not really there to save the world. They're really there to do the agenda of the Swiss Confederation. So it's a smaller focus, but because of who they are, they end up saving the world anyway.
and as you mentioned, with enjoyable names on it is Black Angus, which was a very cool name as well.
Black Angus, there's Angus cows are out of Scotland, so and he's the sorcerer leader of Scotland. So Black Angus was the maybe the most stereotypical name to name him, but the most fun. I don't have I don't have a problem with naming characters very obviously stereotypical names because I think often it really works for the character.
Yeah, but it's funny because like I said, the Black Angus is a sorcerer. So there's interesting scenes where they're debating between science and magic and believing that magic is its own entity, not just like something that's not understood. So how does the issue kind of develop that argument between science versus magic? And for the purpose of the story, is magic a legitimate thing beyond science?
Yes. Well, for the purpose of the story, so there's in my world, there's a difference between, say, sorcery and magic. So in my mind, magic involves incantations, reading a book, raising demons and whatnot. And, sorcery is more like the will and the word. You will something to be existent when you say the word of what it is. So there's this debate that goes on between magic and sorcery. And the third leg of that is science. Like, one of my characters, Yuri, who is the creator, who's the scientist of the Bovine League, who, comes up with all their gadgets and everything. She's very scientifically driven, minded driven. And Argal, who's the my goth girl, who's more emotional and more religiously driven. They clash because of that. So that's how that really works itself out throughout. And issue 2, it works out in the way that they confront Black Angus. I don't want to give away the plot, but at some point, Yuri has to do something to use her scientific mind to counteract Black Angus's great sorcery.
I mean, like I said, it's just such a cool concept to have all these characters and the way you have them interact with each other. So the Bovine League issue 2, I almost called it Bovine League 2 as if it's a sequel, but it's issue 2, which I guess is, yes. I don't know, the sequel.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, well, this is issue 2, so I planned it to be a 6-issue mini series, or I guess it'd be maxi series, whatever. So issue 2, they're in Scotland. Issue 3, they end up on the North American continent in the Lancaster County, where they confront the Holsteins, which are Fantastic Four type cow group of all females. The black and white cows, the Frisian cows. In issue 3, they end up in Texas, confronting Bushwhacker the Bull and Babe the Blue Ox from Paul Bunyan fame as part of it. Issue 5 has them going to Japan to face the Kobe Beef Syndicate, and one of the leaders of the Kobe Beef Syndicate has kaijus, but they're not traditional. They're really these giant chickens. So she controls them. And issue 6 wraps up the whole series in India, where they're worshipped as little cow gods, and and then the whole thing comes to a head.
Now, so to help me understand, so are all the citizens of this planet cows?
No,
just the League.
No, this is what happens in this, supposedly in this world. There's humans, there's aliens, there's cows, there's all goat hybrids. There's all types. So there's all kinds of animal hybrids. So they call it the Great Awakening. So at some point in the past, which we've never touched on, which is just this mythical thing, animals became sentient, and they became human hybrids over years. So that's why. So in this world, there's all types of creatures. So the cows are just one of them. But one of the things that is weird about this world is some of the people in Switzerland themselves look down on the cows because they're cows. Even though in issue 1, we see St. Gallen being challenged by actually aliens, because, and they look as alien as I don't know what, but they're saying like, you don't belong here, cow, calf head. So that kind of happens. So they're cow, and so I can riff on the X-Men a little bit that way. You know what I mean? There's different. I've set it up so that I can riff on different, pay homage to different stories that I loved over the years.
If the animals have become sentient, do people still eat meat in this world?
No, and that's just a great question, because no, in this world it's like all food, all housing, all everything you want is taken care of as part of the Milky Way Defense Organization's charter. So to be part of this organization, Earth has to abide by that. So everyone has everything taken care of, but it's all created by replicators, basically. So people do not eat actual flesh. But in issue, and I'll give a little preview. In issue 4, Babe the Blue Ox has a bunch of supporters who are these humans who are against cows. But Babe the Blue Ox is like a cow sellout. But it's a long thing. But anyway, when the Bovine League confronts them, they're actually eating cow meat. So it's one of those things where the Bovine League are like appalled, So yeah.
So Bovine League 2, like that, is now on Kickstarter. So which rewards are you most excited about?
So the best reward. So actually, we got a lot of great rewards, because a lot of I know a lot of Kickstarters have a reward where it's just a thank you, but for the $5 reward, you actually get a digital copy of Bovine League #2. So we have a $5 reward there. We have a $10 reward where you get all the digital copies of all 4 of the Bovine League books: Bovine League #0, #1, #2, and Hero Unlimited One Shot Basel. At $15, you get all of those books plus all of the other Hero Unlimited books. So you get 10 other books plus 5 additional books. So for $15, you get like 15 digital books. And then at $25, that's the tier where you get the physical copy of Bovine League #2 plus all the previous tiers. The best tier probably that has been most the excited for people is the $40 tier, where you get the catch-up tier. So you get the physical copy of Bovine League #0, #1, #2, and Hero Unlimited One Shot. So that's probably the biggest tier. Then we skip to $100 tier, where you get the aforementioned Omega Chronicles graphic novel and all the other stuff. And at $200, you get every Hero Unlimited book physically. And then we have 2 $500 tiers where you get to talk to 2 of my friends in the Hollywood business, Daryl Lamont Wharton Rigby, who's a independent filmmaker out of Japan, who will give you a 1-hour Zoom session and give you the ins and outs of making indie films and what it takes. And then Russell Farmarco, who's a Hollywood veteran in the sound department and post-production sound and ADR, will give you a behind the scenes what it's like to work in the sound movies. Because people always go to movies and say like, why is it so loud and like it's so low, I can't hear what you're saying. Russell will explain to you why that takes place.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool, huh? It's great that they're also helping out, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am, my other life, I'm a screenwriter. I'm actually on strike with the WGA right now. So, I have a lot of friends in the film business. So a lot of, people will volunteer their time for me. So it's really good to have friends.
Now, did I see it right? And correct me if I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, I'm editing it out so I don't look stupid. Right. If I saw it correct, is Bovine League a project that we love on Kickstarter?
It sure is. It's a project.
Oh, very congrats.
I was so thrilled when I heard from that. It's so good when that happens. I mean, I was really hoping it would give it a really big jump. It hasn't given as much as I wanted to, but nonetheless, it's it's good for me that I know that they're paying attention to me. You know what I mean? That they see that it's out there and it's doing something. So I'm really thrilled to have that. I've been doing social media posts about it a lot. So yeah, I'm really excited to have be a project we love, because it's the first time. This is my 7th Kickstarter. I've had 3 successful and 3 failed. So this is the first time I've ever been a project we love. So I'm really thrilled by that.
That is absolutely awesome. I've had a couple comic books of my own on Kickstarter. None have been projects that we love. So that's still like that fruit that's out there that I'm trying to reach for. So congratulations on that one.
It seems like makes me realize the editors are paying attention.
So between which dates are the campaign running for?
Okay, they started August 1st and it ends on August 31st. So we got about a week left when I believe you're going to air.
So how far along are you into completing the second issue?
With the second issue, there's 10 pages completed, or at least basically completed. Christian pages look completed to me, and he's like, "Oh no, that's only 80%." So don't ask me. He may be adding more to some of these pages, but he's done 10 pages. The story's 30 pages long, so we need to get additional 20 pages, and and I want to be able to pay him for. He's working cheaper for this issue. So we're only trying to raise $3,200. We're only about 45% funded, so we really need as much help as we can get, as quickly as we can get. So please, if you're thinking about contributing, go to the site and please look up Bovine League 2 and help us out.
Mr. Owens, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, sir, and I look forward to seeing Bovine League number 2 completed.
Thanks, Jeff. It was really good to talk to you. Take care.